Welcome back, everybody, to Two Ball, Two Bold, episode 8. I am Marshon Parker,
And I'm Nathan Tomlin.
and we are two bald sports fans, family men, bankers, all of the above. We've got a special episode for you today. I think it's a special episode. I'm psyched. So we're going to be talking about top 10 sports video games. In this episode, we're going to go back and forth, and we're going to see whose matches, who has something different. We're going to expand on our video game experiences and why we picked these to be in the top 10. And obviously, we want you guys to, in the comment section, share if you agree, if you disagree, if there's some that you want to add that we didn't bring up. Let's start some Discord. It's good to have a good conversation going on here, and I'm pretty sure we're all sports fans, and sports fans are gaming fans as well, right? So,
That's right.
you want me to get it started?
Yeah. Just to give everyone a background, the reason we're doing this is because of NCAA Football 25 coming back. Huge deal. Obviously, after 11 years with all the lawsuits and everything. So that's the reason we're doing it.
Yes.
So just want to let everyone know why we're doing this episode. But now go hit it off, man. Start us off.
I'll tell you this first. I'm in a serious debate if I want to get that because I already don't get enough sleep. And if I get that game, it's not going to be good. It's not going to get it off my sleep pattern. But I'm going to go ahead and start off with, as you said, the reason why we're doing this. I'm going to start off with NCAA 14. Xbox 360 and the PS3. I'm sure it's got a little bit of nostalgia because of the fact that it was the last NCAA game, but I can tell you, I wasn't too much into 11, 12, or 13. And when I got 14, I was just immediately hooked. And I've been a college football video game fan since the Bill Walsh days. NCAA 14, I can't tell you how many dynasties I ran in that. And I know for me, I even played the Ultimate Team, and I'm not a big fan of Ultimate Team. Quite honestly, I think it's just a big, basically gamble to just get money out of you. They're just trying to get microtransactions out of you. But I actually played the Ultimate Team on NCAA 14 online, and I had fun playing against people. The teams were all pretty even. It wasn't like somebody had a 99 team and then somebody had a 72 ranked team. It was even teams, and it was fun. I know me myself on the NCAA games. I like to use the weakest program with the best uniforms, and I'm going to honor the young men who were recruited by the previous coach. I'm going to honor their scholarships at least until I get my guys in there. Once I get my guys in here, son, you have to get a roster spot somewhere else because now that my guys are here, I don't need you. I need to get some speed in this program, and I like to build up a 1-star program until they're a 5-star program, and then I'm bored, and then I like to start all over. But NCAA 14, the graphics, the recruiting, everything was just great in that game. The passing, the option that they really had to read option for the first time, where you can pick the options of how you want to do the read option, the playbook, everything. They really expanded on it, which made it even more sad that they had this big hiatus. But we're glad it's back, and NCAA 14 was the first on my list.
Yeah, I had NCAA 14 as well, and actually, not gonna lie to you, that was my number one.
Oh,
because college football games were my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to not take, and I did this on purpose. I did not take two games from the same franchise. I tried to separate it, so I would pick one, and that's my favorite of NCAA football. And I think it was a combination of everything you listed. The recruiting was fantastic.
Yeah.
I probably spent more time in the off season, and then I'd recruit somebody, and then these kids like, I don't guarantee playing time. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but I got 9 5-stars ahead of you, so you're not playing. Bye. I'll go get somebody else that's willing to sit for a year, and they're more into the playing big time games, stuff like that. But to me, NCAA football is so much better than Madden.
Yes.
And part of it was the difficulty, because to your point, you could take an Akron, who I think was one of the worst ranked schools. I think they were like a 63 or something like that in NCAA 14, and you're not beating Alabama. You're not. I don't care how good you are. You just aren't that first year. So you had to build the program. Whereas if you took a team like Alabama, it was easy.
Yeah.
But in Madden, the bad teams aren't really that bad compared to the good teams.
No.
If you're a good player, you'd still win. And also the road to glory, man. I mean, starting in high school, you play the high school playoffs, and you played both ways, and you get recruited on both, and you could pick, okay, well, you're 3-star this or 4-star safety, 5-star quarterback, whatever, and you could pick where you want to go, what you want to play. And the gameplay was fantastic. I absolutely love that game. And just while we're on NCAA football, and for those of you that don't remember, this is one with Denard Robinson on it. Right? They had to use players that no longer were in college because there was no NIL at the time, right? But I'm not getting NCAA Football 25 because that would require me to buy a PlayStation 5 or the new Xbox system. I forgot what it's called. And I can't justify spending $600 on one video game. So my son's 7. So once he's a little bit older and gets into those gaming consoles, maybe I'll start buying them again. But I have friends that will buy it, and I'll go play it there, which will probably help my sleep. And I did want to shout out NCAA Football 07 with Reggie Bush on the cover. That one was fantastic, and you could create a program. That's one of the first ones you could create a program. And I would always pick I'd always be like, no, I'm a cupcake. I think is what they call it. Cupcake is like half star. And I went to a Division III college, and I graduated high school in 07. So, it was kind of my freshman year, same type of thing. And I was like, oh, I could build my college, which was D3, and same color scheme, same type of offense, everything. And anyway, so I wanted to shout that one out. But I did have NCAA 14 as well. But like I said, those games, I was more of a traditional sports video game player, and I would play football during football season, basketball during basketball season, baseball during baseball season. So, but I did have NCAA 14. So I'll stick with football. We'll keep it on the same one. Obviously, I had to have a Madden on here.
Yeah.
And my favorite Madden was Madden NFL 10, the one with Fitz and Polamalu
on the cover. Yeah.
On the cover. One of the best intros while the game was loading. That replay of the Super Bowl, rematch, basically. It was the first time they had where if there was a fumble, there was a pile, and you had to press the buttons, right, to recover the ball. It introduced the more detailed ratings in terms of short-term accuracy, long-term accuracy in terms of throwing, things like that. You could create your own plays. I think I was a big franchise player. I like the road to glory in NCAA, but the individual play in the Madden I didn't care for. But I like the franchise and doing the franchise draft. And I think the off-season parts of the franchise was a lot better and got a lot better in Madden 10. And then also did the accelerated clock. So when you're trying to run the clock out, you didn't go up to the line of scrimmage with 1:40 left with 39 seconds and have to wait 40 seconds, right?
Yeah.
You had that option to accelerate the clock down to 15, which made it a little bit better. And I did want to shout out, I think it was Madden 2007. If I recall correctly, the one with Sean Alexander on it. That one had those little mini games where you could where you'd run, where you have the one blocker and two guys, and you basically let the one blocker lead and have to beat one guy, and you'd earn points, whatever. That one was a lot of fun too. I had a lot of fun with that one, but I went with Madden NFL 10 for my Madden one.
See, and I've been playing Madden since '92. Remember the first Madden I played was Madden '92. My cousin went to a sleepover, and he's like, "Man, I played John Madden this football game, man. I'm going to Sega Genesis. We got it. We have to play this game. We have to play it." And we would play it. He got it, and we would play it, just game after game after game after game. The ultimate as a youngster, Madden 95 on Genesis was like we played that cartridge out. And I was very tempted to say Madden 95, even though I enjoyed the PS2 Maddens. They were probably the best, but the funnest for me, which is next on my list, is Madden 16. So
Is that the one? Who's on the cover of that one?
that's one with Odell on the cover.
That's right.
OBJ,
The Odell catch.
that's what they had, the aggressive catch.
Mm-hmm.
And when I tell you, I played that, so I bought the game because I hadn't really played a couple of the Maddens before that. I had a long stretch where I just kind of stopped playing, these games unless I was playing video games with my kids. And then I ended up getting the Xbox One, and I was like, okay, well, I'll get back into Madden. I got Madden 16, and I said, I'll play it from time to time, but nothing big. And I said, okay, let me do a fantasy draft. I used to like to do fantasy drafts back in the day. Of course, I'm using my Niners, and I got the first pick in the draft. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, well, I've never got the first pick in the draft in any of my fantasy franchises. So this is when Cam Newton is like Cam Newton. So I draft Cam Newton. I get like Megatron in the second round. I get like Adrian Peterson in the third round. The offense is loaded.
But your line sucked.
No. My line was good because I like then they didn't start drafting linemen until later for some reason. So my line was like everybody on my line was like 90 and above. My defense sucked, but I built them up through the draft later. But Cam Newton became the best quarterback ever. I won 7 Super Bowls with him. When I tell you I played that franchise so long, I've never done this before. I played that franchise so long. None of the players in the league were real anymore. like I played that franchise so long that generic players that the computer created was in like year 8. Like there was nobody left for reals in the league.
That's crazy.
And it was just the aggressive catch. Like they had the hit stick on there again.
Mm-hmm.
I love that game. I could play that game still right now and have fun with it. So Madden 16 was for the Xbox One specifically.
Gotcha.
What's next on mine?
I had one more football one, man, and this one's a little different.
Okay.
It's going back. The original NFL Blitz. Yo, man, that game was so addicting and so frustrating. I was like 7 or 8 when it came out. So you can imagine a 7 or 8-year-old kid getting mad at this game, right? Because it was so easy.
Yeah.
But then you're up by 3 touchdowns and every pass is intercepted. Every time you're tackled, you fumble the ball. Every tackle you attempt, they just spin and you bounce off. It was so frustrating, but so fun at the same time. The late hits, the commentating on it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was like XFL before XFL was the thing.
Yeah.
It was so much fun, man. I remember I'd rock with my Broncos. John Elway was just yoked. All the players were just absolutely shredded. John Elway's quarterback. I'm out there running 40-yard runs with John Elway at like 38 years old, man. But man, NFL Blitz, that game was so fun. And I just wanted to point out one game that did not make my list.
Mm-hmm.
It was ESPN NFL 2K5 with T.O. on the Eagles. Do you remember that game? That game.
Yeah.
That game to me was not overall great. But they introduced the inside the helmet. And I don't remember what they called it. I think they called it just like first-person football or something, where it literally looked like you had a helmet on.
Yeah.
They never really perfected it, but that was so cool. And I just want to point that out before we move on from football. I don't know how many more football games you got, but I had to have NFL Blitz, the original NFL Blitz. And I went with Blitz over NFL Street. just because Blitz came first.
Yeah.
And to me, NFL Blitz was so much more fun for me. I had so many memories as a kid.
So I'll say that I had both of those on my list, and I'll kind of expand. NFL Blitz for the PlayStation 1. I used to. I remember we had a arcade back in the mall. That's back when you still had arcades, right?
Yeah.
And I go in there every blue moon and play NFL Blitz, and I used to always talk about NFL Blitz. Man, this game is so fun. Da, da. And I remember, my now wife, who's my girlfriend in high school, she for Christmas bought me NFL Blitz. I played that game like crazy. So that game was like, I don't think people understand like being able to just do the stuff that you could do on there. Like games weren't really like that,
Right.
And back then, I think especially now, like the games are so realistic now, But there was like even with sports games, they're more simulation now. We just wanted to do crazy stuff and have fun, Now going to simulation, NFL 2K5 was for the most part a simulation game. Like it was hardcore football where like I love that game too. Is if your quarterback, like on some of the Maddens, you can just like you kind of like drop back and then just throw the ball before you you have your quarterback set the pass and you may still complete it. NFL 2K5 had like real football fundamentals. Like you had to literally, if you drop back, you had to have your quarterback sit, plant his foot, and then throw. Otherwise, it was going to be inaccurate. The presentation was crazy. And then and the game itself, the story behind that game, because 2K hasn't made a football game since then. And the reason being is that, and you may know this, you may not know this, is that game was not only was it high-end simulation, but what happened is 2K decided that year to sell all their games brand new for $20 because they get a bigger market share. And even like I've read stories where the Madden executives were like, "Oh my God, what is going on here?" Because the game was superior, and they were selling it for $20. And EA and the NFL made a licensing deal, and the NFL, the EA Sports, obviously who makes Madden, ended up buying the licensing deal, and that killed 2K. So they couldn't make any more games after that. They couldn't make any more NFL games after that.
NFL, yeah.
Yeah, but that game itself I mean, it was so in depth. Like they thought of everything.
They had Sports Center on there.
Oh, they had the fact that they
Berman.
had Chris Berman had real highlights that replayed. Like this is stuff you don't even see in games now, And that game came out in 2004. But I love that game. Now next for me, I had NHL 94 on Sega Genesis.
Okay.
So the one shot on there was Madden. Like, and you could really tell the difference between, the superstars and like your average players. And I'm not talking about the Super Nintendo version. You specifically have to say the Sega Genesis version because as much as I love Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis made superior sports games. Like it wasn't even close. And that NHL 94, like Jeremy Roenick was a cheat code. Mario Lemieux was a cheat code. Like it's like you couldn't even if you played that game, you had friends over. That's when people actually got together and played instead of playing online. It was almost like you couldn't use the Chicago Blackhawks because it was like Jeremy Roenick it wasn't fair. And speaking of unfair, I'm sure we'll get to some other players that are considered, unfair in sports games, at least back then. But I had NHL 94 on there as well.
Gotcha. I didn't have any NHL games. I didn't grow up with hockey. I didn't really get into hockey until later. So I didn't really play a whole lot of hockey games, but that's awesome. That would have been older than I would have played. I'll be honest. I didn't have my first gaming console till a Nintendo 64. I think I was 9 or 10 when I got my first console. So I would not have had that game. I had one other sports game that was more of a arcade style game, and it was NBA Showtime. You
Mm.
remember that? It was the follow-up to NBA Jam,
Mm-hmm.
and for me, NBA Showtime, that's when I was playing video games, but I used to play with one of my best friends growing up. He had it every time I went over, man, he was probably sick of it at that point because I didn't have the game. I just played it at his house. But his mom used to watch me and my sister over the summer. Their kids were pretty much the same age as me and my sister. So she was a stay at home mom. She watched us. Um, in the summer, we'd play this all the time. The On Fire,
Yeah.
right? You get on fire and then you could do goaltends. You could just stand in front of the basket and just jump up and catch the ball. You would just shove people. They wouldn't call foul.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you'd make pretty much any shot. Secret characters that you could create on there, and all the cheat codes, the big heads, the little ball, short people, super tall. It was fun. 2-on-2, right? You pick any two players
Yeah.
uh, of the starting five. So, they'd have, any, the Lakers, you pick Shaq and Kobe. The Jazz were still good. They had Malone and Stockton.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Spurs, you could cheat and have Duncan and Robinson. You couldn't shoot until they got on fire, but they'd block everything. And if you got on fire, you literally just absolutely dominate. So it was a fun game. But I had NBA Showtime uh, as my next sport, moving on from football. Uh, so that was one of my two basketball games I got on here, but I'll start with that one.
Okay, I'm seeing you gave a little sneak peek. I'm interested to hear what the. So I had. It's funny because we were keeping it at 10. I had honorable mention NBA jams. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and again, going to the arcades.
Mm-hmm.
You get like $5 worth of quarters. And then obviously we got to the point where we would have NBA jams and we played on the Sega Genesis. But next for me, and I, because I'm going to try to get to the ones that I know most people will know. But before that, I'll say this is going to be before your time, so this is not going to resonate with you, but it's going to resonate with somebody who's watching this. Baseball Stars on the Nintendo, on the NES.
Okay.
Baseball Stars was a Japanese-made baseball game. I think it was made by Konami, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean the same people who make Ninja Gaiden. And when you talk about games ahead of its time, so Baseball Stars, you could cut players, you could trade players. You basically had like a salary cap. You could save stats. It had a um, a saving system within the cartridge where it tracked and saved your season stats. At that time, that was like unreal. That was like, I mean, it might as well have been a hoverboard back then because
Mm-hmm.
just didn't see that on games back then. And
You
you
couldn't save that kind of data back then
no,
on video
no,
games. Yeah.
we would just like we would go play outside and just leave the system on because it's like turn it off. We got to start this level back over. But so Baseball Stars was incredibly ahead of its time. I mean, I just remember the first time, like we would just cut people because it was like you never had the power to do stuff like that before. You know,
Mm-hmm.
just cut people just to see what it was like. Uh,
Right.
the gameplay was great for that time. It had differences. Like I remember there was a team on there. They were called the Lovely Ladies. They were all girls, and they couldn't hit for power or anything. But because they were they had like a softball curve pitch, and it was hard to hit their pitch, because it didn't go fast, but it had like a curve to it. And then they had like this other team that was the American Dream, and they basically just had like a whole bunch of Mark McGuire's and Jose Canseco's. That was big at the time, but it was an amazing game. Um, I don't know too much that it will hold up now, but at the time, it was like way ahead of its time.
Yeah. Yeah, I have. Yeah, definitely did not play that. Didn't play much on NES, dude. To be completely honest with you,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
um, but I'm just gonna segue to this because that was my only complaint about this game. I had a GameCube. Nintendo. I had a GameCube. Then I ended up getting a PlayStation 2 later. But on GameCube, I had All Star Baseball 2003. I think is the one with
yeah.
Derek. Well, they all had Derek Jeter on them.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
But the problem was the memory card
yeah.
basically starting the franchise
Mhm.
would take up your whole memory card.
Ah,
And if you wanted to go further than a year, it pretty much you couldn't do it on GameCube. But if you had the other systems that had better memory,
yeah.
you could. But they had they introduced the franchise mode, the expansion mode. You can create a team, pick colors, pick a mascot,
Mhm.
all that stuff. You could fantasy draft a team, and me and one of my good friends, we do that. Back in the day, we just play for hours. Man, we draft a team, we'd save it, and then eventually the file would get corrupted because you'd have too much and it wouldn't save right. And it's like, oh, this file won't load now. Um, but I absolutely loved that game. That was one of my favorite games. I played that game all the time. I probably had that one All-Star Baseball 2003 for a good probably 3 or 4 years. It's not one of the games I ever kept buying. And I think 2005 was last year they even had that game. I'd have to look back and see, but
Yeah.
it's been a while since they had that game. But All-Star Baseball 2003, man, and it's not even the best baseball game. Like I've played better ones.
Yeah.
Um, but just the memories I had with that one, and then that franchise mode was so new at that time for baseball in the expansion. And again, there's so much data in baseball,
Yeah.
right? There's 162 games in a season. You pretty much have to simulate through stuff.
Yeah.
But I remember Barry Zito was so good. His curveball would literally go from the top of the strike zone to the bottom. Like he'd throw it and it would just drop. It's a solid 12, 18-inch drop on a curveball. And you're like, dude, I can't hit this guy.
Can't
He's
read.
chucking like he's chucking like 97 mile an hour fastballs and throwing like 79 mile an hour curves with an 18-inch drop. Like it was insane. But anyway, I was like, that was a perfect segue talking about the saving capability of
Yeah. Yeah.
of the game. Um, and it was kind of that was the one issue is like you had to keep redoing franchise modes um, with that. So anyway, that was also my only baseball one that made the list.
So what? Okay. So when you played franchise, who did you use? Well, you did fantasy, right?
I
Got
did fantasy
draft?
drafts all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah, it was just more fun that way because you could pick players, um, and it was always kind of a challenge. Baseball fantasy drafts are always a challenge
Yeah.
because you either are going to have a great lineup but terrible pitching,
Mm-hmm.
or you'll have great starting pitching and terrible lineup,
Yeah.
or you can have about four really good players, everyday players,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 to 3 really good pitchers.
Yeah.
And so you kind of had to choose. And then you had to be position specific too. There's a lot of first basemen. There's a lot of outfielders. There's only 3 or 4 second basemen that were really good, right?
Yeah.
The drop off was big. But are you really going to take a second baseman in the first or second round of a fantasy draft? So it was hard to compile a team, and then you had to look at their age, the contracts, because baseball contracts are ridiculous even back then. So you had to look at all those things, try and get guys that are cheap, look at their potential, because baseball, of course, is the only one of the major sports that really has a minor league system, especially in the video game aspect of it.
Yeah.
So you had to look at the minor leagues and say, okay, how's this guy? Okay, he's 18, he's a 68,
Mm-hmm.
but his potential's an A.
Yeah.
Maybe I take a chance on him. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it was. Otherwise, I'm an Angels fan, and I was a glutton for punishment, man. Um, you know, but yeah, but sometimes I'd go with jerseys. I always liked the Marlins jerseys; thought they were cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and then I always like to pick back then the National League teams because you didn't have to worry about picking a DH.
Mm-hmm.
So it made it a little bit easier. There was one less position player you really had to focus on, and really it's just one less guy to worry about and focus more on the pitching. So now it doesn't matter because now there's a universal DH. So now you
Yeah.
have to get that extra guy now. But yeah,
Right. So I'm gonna be surprised on both of our lists. I really am. I'll say this first. So I remember when the Wii was really hard to find, and at that point, that's kind of when I stopped playing games, and I knew the GameStop manager who managed the GameStop next to my branch, and he said, "Hey man, I can get you a Wii." I said, "Oh really?" I said, "Okay, well I'll get one because they were hard to get. I knew my kids would like it." I said, "Hey, I don't mind getting back into video games." That was kind of my introduction back into video games after about, I don't know, 3-4 years of not playing anything, not even having a system in the house, anything. And got the Wii and Wii Sports. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, come on, like Wii Sports, and some people might, oh, that's a sports game. Like
Mhm.
that's the ultimate sports game. You're literally you're doing tennis, you're doing bowling. What else are you doing on there? You're doing golf, and anybody could do it. My wife, who doesn't really play video games that much, although me and her will have some epic battles on Dr. Mario. Uh, but other than that, she'll play like, Plants versus Aliens on her. I'm not Plants versus, yeah, it's Plants versus Zombies on her phone.
Zombies.
Yeah, but we sports, everybody who would come over the house, we would all end up bowling or doing tennis or doing golf. And that game is like, it's so like, you could be 4 years old, you could be a 94-year-old grandmother. Like, everybody's going to have fun with that game and enjoy it. So
Yeah.
that was next on my list is Wii Sports.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, I had that too.
Yeah.
So that's a no brainer. Um, I'm gonna go with one. Also, probably people don't consider it a sports game, but it is a racing game. And I know there's better racing games if you want to be sporty about it.
Uh-huh.
But Mario Kart 64, man. And I got two words for you:
Uh-huh.
Rainbow Road. I mean, come on, dude. Mario Kart 64 was awesome. The battle mode was so much fun.
Uh-huh.
I mean, again, I haven't played a lot of the Mario Kart since then. There's probably better games now. Now you could do online.
Yeah.
There's probably way more features to everything. But man, I played Mario Kart 64 for years, man, years, and I had so much fun playing. You never get sick of Mario Kart, and always get mad if you don't win. Rainbow Road, you'd always fall off the freaking road, but it didn't matter. You're like, I'm gonna play it again. Um, but that game was so much fun, and it kind of like we sports. You know, a lot of anyone could play it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of those ones where it's just like you need to know like three buttons.
Yeah.
You know, it's just steering is the most important part, and uh, try not to get hit with the red shell. Other than that, you just kind of do your thing. But yeah, I had Mario Kart 64.
Mhm.
That's one of my top ones. And again, like I said, I know there's a lot more racing like Gran Turismo games. There's Forza Sport. There's F1 racing.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's Forza Horizons. There's all kinds of racing games. But that one just for me, all the memories I have with it, I went with that one.
No, that's so I wasn't a big 64 player. I think I mean,
Hmm.
like I missed the whole Golden Eye. I missed all that. I was, I was basically at that point, I think I was only playing like Madden in NBA Live around that time. And
Hmm.
I believe it's just, on that time span, that would have been
They
what.
were they were not Nintendo
No,
64.
no,
I don't
that
think
that would have been what I probably would have had a Genesis
90s,
or
mid to late 90s.
or maybe a PS1, probably a PS1 around that time.
Hmm.
But I did have a Mario Kart, but
Original.
oh, no, 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 no. Oh, no, no, no. All right, but I'll say this before I say that. A racing game that you didn't bring up that was super fun, man. Did you ever play Midnight Club Dub Edition?
Oh yeah,
Oh man, that game
that was on
on the
PlayStation specific, wasn't it?
It was on the PS2. I think they might have had it on the Xbox, the first Xbox as well.
Yeah, I know it's PS2.
But I had Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Edition on the Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
That game is so fun, and it looks beautiful. Like the colors, everything, and the different race tracks, because it's the deluxe. Because basically, what it is the one that they took off of the Wii U, but they gave you all the racing tracks and all the racers and everything that you had to unlock on the Wii U edition. And then obviously the graphics are more scaled up. But Mario Kart 8
All right.
Deluxe, the Nintendo Switch, is so addictive and so fun.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I haven't really played
Yeah,
any of the newer ones,
yeah.
and so again, I'm sure they've gotten better, obviously over
Oh,
time.
of course,
You
yeah.
know,
Now, well, let me ask you at this point: how many do you have left on your list?
um, I have two left,
Okay,
three left.
3 left.
Yeah.
Okay, go because I have 2 left. So go ahead.
Okay.
One of your 3.
All right. So the other basketball one I had, and this is really just sentimental in so many ways, but it's NBA 2K24,
Okay, okay.
uh, the Bomba edition, man, with Kobe Bryant. Uh, my wife actually gave that to me for my birthday. It would have been my 30. That would have been 23. So 34th birthday.
Hmm.
Um, and it was I think a year to 2 years after he passed or something like that.
Hmm.
um so it was you know that was, and Kobe was my favorite player for forever. I'm a huge Kobe guy. I mean, I'll stand there and say Kobe's, you know, I'll give you Jordan, but I ain't giving anybody else above Kobe. I'll argue till I'm blue in the face. I don't care if I'm wrong, and I know it. I'm taking him. You could have anybody else. I'm taking Kobe.
I get it.
Um, but that game, you were able to play his moments. 2K is fun. 2K is a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
The player mode's fun. Where's my career mode? That's the franchise. I again same thing. I did the franchise draft, and same thing is you kind of have to draft players based on age, based on potential, based on their contracts. And
Mhm.
I would always I do the OKC method, man.
Oh
I
yeah.
stockpile draft picks, man. And then you just look and see, you scout, and if there's nobody that's really that great, you trade the draft picks for future picks, and you
Hmm.
just keep getting these, and then you eventually get like an 85 as the number one overall pick, and you're like set.
Yeah.
That guy's on a rookie contract while you have a superstar or two already under contract. I did want to shout out 2K11, which is probably a better game. In all honesty, probably had more fun with that game, but 2K24 just had that sentimentality to me, and I didn't play many. I haven't bought any in a couple of years since then. So
I
I
so
never played
2K11
25.
2K11 was the one with the Jordan moments, and
Mm-hmm.
that game was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I, the NBA 2K14
Mm-hmm.
on on the Xbox One and the PS4, they changed the lighting. The graphics obviously were upgraded because it was a new system, but they changed the lighting system too. To this day, that game is gorgeous. Like the graphics, it's like you can see the lights reflecting off of the hardwood floors.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is they did with the lighting, but that game in gameplay was really good too. But yeah, I mean, I haven't played 2K in a while. I haven't played NBA 2K in a while. Um, I don't know. I think at this point, it's there's just so many moves, and as much as I'm willing to sit down and for like a college football game, I'm willing to learn all the different jukes and passes and all this other stuff, and and precision pass and stuff. I'm just not really into like, perfecting my jumper on NBA 2K or perfect Euro step. I'm just not. I'm just not that interested
Yeah.
basketball games that much. So at this point now I'm curious because we're both down to two, right?
Hmm.
And
Well,
I
you picked my top one already. We started with my
yeah, yeah,
top one. So,
you're right because I was going to say I want to see. So because I told you I brought props to the table, right? So I'll go. Okay, to me is as much as I've loved Madden, as much as I've liked NCAA, as much as I've liked 2K games. This is the football goat game. This, this is the football goat game because I remember the first time playing this game when I played on the JFL Bucks, and we had our sixth grade, and we had our end of the season party, and someone had this game. One of the first times I played the game.
you
Still play this game now. Yes, I still play this game now. Tecmo Super Bowl.
ever seen this one?
I play that. I play that. I play that. I play that. I play so so I play the college version and I play the pro version. On the college version, I'm in like season 10 with South Florida, but Tecmo Super Bowl. Now, when most people think about this game, there's the first name that comes to mind, obviously, is Bo Jackson. Like everybody thinks about Bo Jackson. But this is the thing: Bo Jackson's not the best player on that game. He's like the third best player on that game.
Oh, okay. Third.
I'm gonna tell you no, because everybody talks. Yes, he's a glitch. When people talk about football video game like characters of all time, they bring up two names: Bo Jackson on Tecmo Bowl and Michael Vick on
Mike
Madden.
Vick in 04.
Which now that was a cheat code. He was that was ridiculous. But
He was a 99 speed as a quarterback.
as the
What are you
quarterback,
going to do?
throwing power, so you could just just run around until somebody becomes open, and you just we had rules. Nobody
Hmm.
pockets. Now, but on Tecmo Bowl, I will die on the hill and say this: the two best players on Tecmo Bowl were Jerry Rice and Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor will block every field goal on there, and Lawrence Taylor would get like a sack on almost every play if you usered him. And then Jerry Rice was the best receiver, or you can put him at running back, and he would be the best running back. He was a but that game, I promise you, you're going to be here next weekend. And if it's enough guys here, I'm busting out the Nintendo, and we will be having a Tecmo Ball tournament. All right. You will see people turn into 10 and 11-year-olds again. This game is it is the football GOAT game because I don't care how old you are. I don't care how long the game's been out. It's great because everybody can just pick up and play it. Like you don't have to know all these intricacies about the video game, this, that, and that. It's straightforward and it's fun.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, yes, we want sports games to be realistic, but what do we play video games for at the heart of it? It's to have fun.
Hmm.
Like, we want to have fun, right? And this the football GOAT. It's the football GOAT. It was the first game that tracked stats. It's just is that I don't even know what else to say. I mean, you played it though, right?
Yeah, I've
Okay.
played it, but it
Okay.
was before my time.
Yeah, I know it was. That's why I asked that question.
So I'll save my other one that was in my top two
Okay.
for last. So I'll go with this one next. A sport we haven't talked about, and I played this a lot in college. My college roommate had it
Uh-huh.
on PlayStation 3. It would have been PlayStation 3 at the time. FIFA '09 had
Okay.
Ronaldinho and Rooney
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the cover. The response time it had gotten so much better from the prior versions in terms of being able to juke. The jostling finally took into account the strength of the individual player, where
Hmm.
before it didn't.
Yeah.
Um, and then the Be a Pro, it was the first time that they allowed you to join the national team. You would pick your nationality. Before it didn't really matter because you didn't play the international stuff. As well as be able to change teams. Like you could, you'd start out on some you know, team that's not very good, and then they loan you out like they do, you know,
Real life.
in professional soccer. And then it was the first one that also allowed you to user celebrations if you scored a goal. And I remember, man, we would play, and my college, I went to Division III, and our soccer team was really good. They went to like I think the Division III semifinals.
Yeah.
They were really good, and so some of the guys, they were good friends with my roommate, and we'd all be playing FIFA, and I had no idea what I'm doing. I'm slide tackling everybody, like,
Yeah,
you can't do that. That's it. You're gonna just keep getting yellow cards. I didn't care. But as I, developed and started playing more, it became more and more fun. But a lot of good memories in college. I'll keep out the other parts of what was going on besides the playing the FIFA. But that usually preceded us eating ramen and watching Planet Earth on Blu-ray at the end of the night before we go to sleep to wake up the next day to go to class. But FIFA '09, man, FIFA is a good game. I don't know if you've played FIFA.
Oh yeah, I used to play pretty heavy.
But it's I mean, it's so much fun. The last FIFA I bought was 18, I think, and it had a World Cup on it, because every 4 years, whenever it's a World Cup, they have the World Cup in the FIFA.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always cool. Won the World Cup for USA, first time ever. Probably will never ever happen, but I pulled it out for us. So I'm a national hero.
There we go. You made it happen.
All right. So what is your top sports video game?
Okay, so we've touched on this, in past videos. There's an age gap between us. I guess that age gap would equal out to what, about college and high school, right? Because so my number one sports video game of all time, I think, is pretty consistent with the 40 and up crew, right?
Yeah, I knew you were going to pick that.
Yeah. I mean, very hard to explain. You take that little guy Mac on that journey, right? You take him on that journey.
For our listeners that are not watching.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike Tyson Punch Out. Mike Tyson Punch Out. So you take your boxer Mac on this journey. I remember being a kid, the first time, you beat Glass Joe. And I think everybody, you probably get stuck around like Don Flamingo, and then you get to the point where you can get past Don Flamingo. Then you get to the point where King Hippo is knocking you out. And then you go over a friend's house and they say, "Oh, no, man, you can't jump punch him. You got to punch him in the stomach." But once you punch him in the stomach, he can't get back up. And then you figure that out. You get to these next steps, and you be so frustrated when you finally get to Mike Tyson and he hits you one time and knock you out, until you finally figure out how to beat him. And it would always be like the one kid in the neighborhood was like, "I can beat Mike Tyson." And it'd be like, "Well, we need to go see this. Let's all go to your house. Let's all go to your house and watch you accomplish this feat." The game, it's a sports game by title, but really it's a puzzle game. It's really a puzzle rhythm game, because all it is really is you having a rhythm of movements when you're just like, okay, dodge, dodge, punch, dodge, dodge, punch. But it was one of the rare games. I can remember my, grandfather, who's now, of course, transitioned. But when I was a young kid and he came in and he would watch me and my cousin play it. And next thing we know, he's up all night with us playing it. And this is a man who didn't grow up playing video games. He didn't play video games, but it was just Punch Out just resonated with everybody. And trying to explain to people how big Mike Tyson was at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard to explain now, because most people can't even name who the heavyweight champion in the world is right now. I mean, me and you are big sports fans. I mean, who is it? Is it? I think it's Josh Anthony.
What?
No, it's not. It's what's the name? He just lost.
Alexander, dude. He just beat.
That's what I was gonna say.
He just beat Tyson Fury. He unified the belts.
It was Tyson Fury, and he just lost. But it's like, back before, like, the heavyweight champion of the world
Mm-hmm.
was like, that meant something.
Yeah.
And Mike Tyson was Tyson. Like,
He was violent.
he was on a one name basis. Like he was like, this is back when athletes
Mike
were like,
Tyson.
yeah, I know, right? But this is back when athletes were still like mythical, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And Mike Tyson was like this mythical, scary man. And that game was just, it was just pure fun. It was fun. So that's my number one sports title for me.
Yeah. I was never into much of the boxing games. I had Fight Night Round 4 as my top boxing game. Punch Out was just before my time.
Yeah.
I never
I,
really played it, but Fight Night did not make it. My last one, and this was again is kind of right when I got a Nintendo 64. It came out in 1999. You have any idea what I'm about to say?
I think I do. It's like, this is not one of the major sports, right?
It is not. It
Yeah.
is not.
But
Tony
but
Hawk Pro Skater.
yes, I knew it.
So I went with the OG one
Okay.
because I don't think it's necessarily the best one,
Hmm.
but it started it all.
Hmm.
It had the best soundtrack. Okay, it was the most realistic of any
Hmm.
of them, and it's not even close. Um, it was so much fun. It was the first game of its kind. I mean, skateboarding was that made skateboarding so much more popular. Um, and I mean, it was so much fun. It was great, and it was hard. You had 2 minutes. There were
Hmm.
5 things, I believe, if I remember correctly, 5 different challenges, and all of them you had to spell skate. You had to get the hidden tape, and then there was a point total that you had to get. There was a certain secret area or something specific to the map that you had to do. Um, but it was a lot of fun, and I did want to shout out 2 other Tony Hawk games. Um, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 is probably the best one. Um,
What system was that on?
that would have been, I think, still
GameCube.
either PS2, PS3,
Okay.
GameCube, and Xbox.
Okay.
Uh, uh, Pro Skater 3 was 2002, 2001, 2002. So I guess it would have been PS2, Xbox, and
Yeah. Yeah.
GameCube, N64.
Yeah.
Um, but Pro Skater 3, introduced the revert. So after you landed, you could revert into a manual to make the combo longer, which allowed you to get a lot more points. Way longer combos. It was the first one that had online features to it. They had special characters. I'm a huge Star Wars guy. You know this. Darth Maul was one of the special characters you could unlock. So was Wolverine.
Oh wow.
Imagine skateboarding with Darth Maul. He had a lightsaber. Wolverine with his claws is pretty cool. And then I also wanted to shout out Thug, Tony Hawk's Underground. It had like a career mode
Hmm.
where that's pretty much what it was. It was underground. You were a no name and you'd go through this story, and it was like a movie, but you would play the moments as a skateboarder, and just that type of gameplay was really cool. It was a lot of fun too. But man, Tony Hawk Pros, I can't tell you how much fun I had. I have they did a remaster of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, and I have it on my PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is so much fun, man. It brings me back. And again, the soundtrack on Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1, man. I mean, I don't know if you were into that kind of music or not, but it was so good. They had some ska on there. I mean, it was most of the music I had never heard, but I was like, oh man, this is so cool.
Hmm.
And it was just, I mean, it put, I'm never a skateboarder, man. I can't skateboard now. You put a skateboard in front of me, I'll roll until I hit something or fall off. But man, those games were so much fun, man. So much fun.
Now, I mean, me being an '80s baby, I skateboarded until I was about 6 or 7, and then I started getting into like actual organized sports and things like that. If I'm being honest, it was like, oh, it got to a point where, like, where I'm from, once you got to about 6 or 7, it was like, man, we don't skateboard.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this question, because I thought about it when you were talking about Tony Hawk, and kind of think about that time. I don't have it on my list, but I just thought about what would you consider the Def Jam fighting games? Would you consider it a sports game? That's the interesting
No,
question, though. No, right? I mean, like,
because I mean, uh, that's like, I mean,
that's a fighting game.
no, because
That's
I
different.
well,
That's,
dude, do you consider Super Smash Brothers fighting?
no, no, that's why it's a fighting game.
Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter,
That's
you
that's
know what
all
I mean?
that's all fighting games. Yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah,
great games, don't get me wrong, but I
yeah.
don't consider
Fighting.
them sports games.
Uh,
Otherwise, Super Smash Brothers would be on there because that game was so much fun.
never a fan.
Oh my god, so much fun.
Never a
That's
fan.
because you sucked at it. That's what that
No,
means.
no, I just
That you were too busy jumping off the cliff, killing yourself the whole time,
I
losing
was
lives,
I
and
was a Street
everyone's just letting you
Fighter.
fight yourself.
I was a Street Fighter in Mortal Kombat. Never,
Yeah,
never.
I got more one of the Mortal Kombats. I don't even know which one I got. 10, I think, or X, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I think. I mean, listen. That was it. Was I think the good thing about this episode is like we both got to go down memory lane on a lot of stuff, right?
hmm
You know, we really do this podcast, you know, because we enjoy talking about sports. We enjoy, you know, kind of conversing and doing things like that. And the fact is that like this was a fun episode, you know,
yeah,
and I hope that the people who are listening to this they get to either go down memory lane with some of the games we talked about, or even kind of think about some games that we didn't get a chance to talk about that they got to enjoy in their childhood. Because at the end of the day, that's what these lists are. Like, it's
hmm
not like, oh, these are the top rated games of all time.
right,
If you notice, it was pretty much our experiences, and that's what video games is about, really. I mean, it's
absolutely,
your experiences and shared experiences you have with your friends and things of that nature. We're not a rating system where we want to go back and we just want to look at the top 10. It's the top 10 for us, you know. And
right,
hey, we want to have some conversation. So in the comment section, if there's anything we didn't bring up, please bring it up. I mean, there might be some things that you guys put in there and you say, hey, I had a lot of fun with this game, and it might jog our memory because we might have had a lot of fun with that game as well. We just forgot to mention it because we were, you know, had our number at 10, right?
yeah, yeah.
Uh, but did you have anything else that you want to add to this episode?
No, I mean, just to your point. I mean, most of them are our experiences we had with the games.
Yeah,
I mean, they're again, like I said. I mean, I know there are games that gamers are probably like, "Oh, this is better. This is better."
yeah.
Probably are, but I didn't have an experience with that game. It stood out, and there was really just one that I didn't mention
Go.
that was so close to making it, and I almost cut one of the basketball ones, or one of the football ones because I did have a few football games on here, but was WWF F No Mercy. Those wrestling games were so fun, man.
Yeah.
And they were great because they're great multiplayer games. You can
Hmm.
play by yourself, you can play with friends. And that particular one, I just had a lot of experience. Again, same thing. Memories again, probably better wrestling games than that. But if I had to pick one fighting game, that would have been my fighting game, just because of my experiences I had with it.
That was during the
But
Attitude Era, right?
WWF. So that had Edge, The Rock, and Triple H were on the cover. It was like 2000 or something like that, man. I
Yeah,
mean,
that was
it's back.
during the Attitude
Yeah, yeah,
Era.
because it was
Yeah,
before it merged, right? Before
yeah.
it became WWE. So, yeah, it was 25 years ago or so, at this point. But, just the memories of playing that game with a couple of my friends. Really, was one of my friends had it. We'd go
Yeah.
to his house after school sometimes and play. And yeah, I mean, it was just a lot of fun. But anyway, that was really the only game we didn't really discuss, or type of game we didn't really discuss, that I just wanted to point out.
See, man, there's so many. I had a few honorable mentions that I just, I've got to just wipe these off the list. Otherwise, this episode is going to just run way too long. And
Yeah.
we tried to set ourselves at 10. It's like, man, if I don't keep these, I mean, there was TNT surfing. It was a Nintendo game that you could do surfing, you could do skateboarding, all kind of stuff like
Remember
that.
SSX Tricky?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. That one on
Sight Bike?
Excite bike. That was on my honorable mentions. I had to take that.
Backyard baseball.
Yeah, backyard baseball. You had backyard football. You had
NFL Street, NBA Street.
yeah. I mentioned it earlier, but the Midnight Club Dub Edition. That game was, I love that game. Trying to think what else there was. There's so many games, But I can't believe you brought up Excite. So you played Excite Bike though.
Oh yeah, I played Excite Bike 64.
Oh,
But yeah,
64. Okay.
but same concept.
Yeah.
It was one of the first games I got when I got the N64 for Christmas. I think I was I was 10. Must have been 10 because I got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Mm-hmm.
I got Excite Bike 64, and I got NFL Blitz.
Nice.
That was like that was it. Here's Christmas and your birthday, because my birthday's 2 weeks after Christmas. There you go.
There we go.
Knock yourself out. You're done for the year.
Not a bad Christmas. Oh, you know what's I gotta bring these up. Triple play baseball.
Yes, with Sammy Sosa.
Yeah, I think it was it 2000
or 99?
Something
like that.
And then man, I don't think this one's going to resonate with you, but NBA Live 95.
Not 95, but NBA Live 06. It was one of the last ones. It was a really good game.
Are you talking about the one? Then you could do the slam dunk contest, right?
Yeah.
That one was a good one too. See, we could do this all night, man.
There's too many.
There's too many. So I think, with that being said, I'll cut. I'll say we'll end it right here before we end up going another hour. But again, do not be ashamed. Mention your games. Put the games what you agree with, what you disagree with, what you would add to the story. Not to the story, but to the episode. We would love to hear your experiences. Hey, tell us about that play franchise for 15 seasons and won 10 Super Bowls, and where you made that unexpected person into a superstar. Tell us about everything. Tell us about it all. We want to hear it. We want to be able to converse with you, all that good stuff. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and look forward to seeing you for episode 9.
Absolutely. Thank y'all. Take care.